We're on. Welcome back to another podcast from Nobody Cares About Dad. This week, joined by Lee. Lee, how you doing?
My guy, yes, always good, mate. Yeah, how about yourself? Thank you so much for having me on.
Do you know, it's just not refreshing because that would be the wrong word, but it's a change to be speaking to somebody from the UK.
Mate, I've had exactly the same recently, and the worst thing is I literally love podcasting, but I keep having to wake up at like crazy times in the middle of the night to speak to people in Australia or New York and stuff like that. So bless you for living in Manchester, mate. Really.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, genuinely, I don't think I've done a podcast in 4 or 5 months that hasn't been from the US. Because
have you had any weird ones? Not weird ones, but you know what I mean.
I love them. Like, I absolutely love the Americans. Like, they're so animated. They tell a good story.
Yeah.
It's just I've had one Canadian guy who's coming up actually. He was bonkers.
I meant more about the places. Have you had anywhere that's like just some bizarre kind of like tiny little island off of somewhere or something like that?
So I had a guy. Yes and no. I had a guy from Oklahoma, but he was from such a small town that his school had 29 people in it.
Yo, that's awesome.
Like it was, I think the population of the town was like 500 or something crazy like that.
Nice.
So, but like you say, what I've really enjoyed. So we started the podcast end of Jan. So what I've really enjoyed about doing it is just getting to speak to people from different cultures, different backgrounds all over the world. And it's been like you said yourself, people from Australia, people from America, Canada, people that you'd never ever speak to normally. It's just been quite awesome. Nice.
It really is it's like the best way of just like getting a bit of a different perspective, talking to a bunch of different people and then just going a little bit deep. Yeah, I love it. But yeah, awesome job on the podcast as well, mate. I love this. This setup is cool. I don't know if your listeners understand what's going on, but this is very, very professional. I like it.
Yeah, do you know what? I appreciate that. So most people watch it actually. So most people watch on Facebook or YouTube. Downloads we don't even really push it, and I'll be honest, I'm not very consistent with my uploads on the old podcast front. But mostly YouTube and Facebook is where people find us normally.
Nice.
I was going to ask you what prompted your foray into the world of podcasting?
Oh, mate, to be honest, so I wrote a book, and I never really wanted to. I'm not an author at all. It's kind of insane that even came out as a thing. But I always wanted to do an audio book. And then basically I saved up a bunch of money and I was doing quite well. I ran a business, sort of bootstrapped a business ran it for about 8 years, got a bunch of employees, got offices, and then COVID was just like, nah, son. Yeah. So that sort of went overnight, and all the money that I had saved up to do the audio book like professionally, I ended up spending on payroll because I didn't want to put anyone on furlough, which is kind of ethically like a really nice thing to do, but also terrible for my business, my personal finances. So instead, I wanted to make sure I had a bunch of people asking about it coming out as a thing. So I was like, do you know what? I can't afford to do it properly at the moment, so I'll do a podcast, and then at least I can do. So the podcast I'm doing is like an audio. It's the audio book, but in podcast version. And then when I finish that, then I'll start doing guest podcasts, just like yourself. So yeah, that's the reason, mate. How about yourself?
Do you know it's such a like. I'm like you. Like I've never written anything. I've never published anything like this before. Like the whole YouTube phase of watching people creating these channels. I just used to look at that and think, I can't do that. There's no way I could do that. But do you know what? Like I started the blog. So that's what the first thing. Nobody Cares About Dad. That was the first thing, and I started it on. So I never grew up with a dad. My dad wasn't around growing up, and so watching the dynamic of my father-in-law and my mother-in-law interact with their family was strange to watching it, because I've never really seen that. I've never grown up with it, and watching how that.
Do you have a father figure at all?
No, never.
Right, oh, mate, bless you.
Never, yeah. So it was just, so I sort of interacted, and it was, and I'll tell this story quickly because I've told it a few times, but it was Christmas Day a few years back, and I was watching my mother-in-law and father-in-law open their respective Christmas presents, and my father-in-law got a packet of socks and a packet of licorice, standard dad presents. Yeah. And he had to be super excited and super happy to receive these dad presents. And then I look across and watch my mother-in-law open, it was hundreds of pounds worth of gifts, and it wasn't even about the money. It was just more about the thought that went into dad's gift. And I remember watching that dynamic, and I was thinking, oh, nobody really cares about dad. And that was the words that popped into my head. So then I just started writing about.
But you know what I mean? That's an awesome. Yeah, that's an awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just started writing about that, and then I started thinking, well. Then I started thinking about looking into and reading about why men leave and why couples break up. And then I thought to myself, could it be as simple as that in some cases, and obviously not all, because there's a multitude of reasons why relationships break up, but could it be as simple in a lot of cases that dads just think nobody cares if I'm here or not? Nobody cares about me. So why does it matter if I'm here or not? Could it be that simple? So I just started writing about that, and obviously we were in the middle. That was January 21, so we were in the middle of lockdowns, and I was sort of going through a little bit myself, mentally with the sort of lockdowns. I started a business in February 20. The world went into lockdown in March. So that was obviously
feeling, mate. Exactly that.
Yeah, so brilliant time to do that. And then so I started writing, and I was trying to get one blog a week, and I was enjoying doing that. And then somebody just said, "Look, why don't you start a podcast?" And do you know what? It was when, I don't know if you remember, or you did this with your friends, but during some of the lockdowns, rather than going out, we were having parties on a Friday night, having a few beers, but with the lads on Face Party or whatever social media app. And I was like, well, let's just take what we would do down the pub, the conversations we would have, and just have it online. And that's literally how it was born.
Which is double cool, because you can do it without wearing any trousers and nobody knows. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool, man. What an awesome story. I love that.
No, I appreciate that. And but it's pivoted. So it started off just one-on-one dads. It started off being just tell the parental journey, but from the side you never hear, like the dad's side. And then it's pivoted recently into more of just a chat around mental health, mental wellness, self-improvement, and some of the guests we've started to pick up they've been really interesting people. And then I created the Facebook page in beginning of February, and that just, I think we're 4,500 on that now. It just went.
That's awesome. I love that so much. Excellent. You're smashing it.
No, so appreciate that. Appreciate it. And I say it's nice to have a fellow Brit on.
Got your back, sir. It's all good.
But Lee, tell us about the book. So, how did that get started? Because, like you said, you've never been a writer. That's never been something that you thought you'd get into. So, how did that come about?
Well, I suppose, cheers for asking, mate. So, thing number one is probably I'm definitely that guy that jumps off the cliff and tries to build the aeroplane on the way down, which is probably the reason I ended up doing something like there's a bunch of stuff I've done in my life where it doesn't, if you look at it on paper, it just really doesn't make sense. But I had a really bad drug addiction, and then I met my now wife. She has a son, so I have a stepson who's an absolute legend. He's such a ledge. And when just before I met them, when I was trying to come clean basically and get off the drugs, I was going to CA meetings, AA meetings. I was doing all the stuff, everything like that, and it just didn't work for me. And the thing with me is it's so different for everyone, right? It's a completely different journey. Yeah, I think, without going off on a massive tangent, there's so many books where it works for one person, it doesn't work for the other, or there's podcasts that work for some people, they don't work for the other, and everyone wants this silver bullet. If I do X, then Y will happen. It just doesn't. For me, that doesn't exist. It means that X might happen for you, but I might need 7A squared or something like that. I don't know. But so I basically tried all this stuff, and then I ended up I just started writing one day. I can't even give it much of a decent story. I just started writing, and I started writing these little hacks out. And my whole sort of ethos is make stuff so easy that you can't make an excuse for it. So, for instance, if instead of running a marathon, really simple, obvious analogy, but instead of running a marathon, I'd be right, I'm going to run like half a K today, and then tomorrow I'll run half a K and then like another quarter of a K. And then the next day I'll do like a whole kilometre. And then after that, like 1.2, 1.4. And I'll go up like that to the point where I'm like, oh, I just did a marathon. But that little extra like 0.2 of a K, I can't excuse myself on it because that, that's pathetic. So I kind of came up with little hacks that sort of like got me to, basically just got me to stop taking drugs and not dying, which was awesome, which is really, really handy. And then I sort of like, I wrote a bunch of stuff, and then a friend was around my house one day and she was like, what's this? And I was like, no, what are you doing? That's my little journal thing. And she was like, mate, this is pretty shit, but it's not that shit. It's like, it's okay. You can maybe do something with this, So and then like just self-published, and then it just kicked off. I think one of the major reasons that it's like we're doing quite well with it and like we're helping a lot of people is just sheerly because of the time it came out. I put the book out in June last year, so everyone was like so messy with lockdown, and freaking out. No one knew what was going on, and everyone's self-esteem was like hitting the floor. People were having that thing where they'd been working a job that they hated for so long, and they'd finally realised, like, honestly, I don't want to do this anymore. I need some motivation, or I need help with my mindset, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
100%, yeah. I mean, that's so. I'm in my business is recruitment, so like that's something I talk about quite a lot. The stat that you spend a third of your life in work, and most people spend it hating their job. So why spend a third of your life doing something you hate?
Well, it's just insane, isn't it? I mean, the thing is as well, it's like, I was a teacher for a long amount of time as well. So very, very quick sort of, I was a traveling musician for most of my 20s. And when you do that as a job, you have some work some of the time, a shed load of work some of the time, and then no work for ages. So what you have to do is, you have to supplement that or complement it. So I ended up doing like, I was teaching at colleges, and then I started teaching at universities and doing like keynotes and masters and stuff like that. And it was one of those things where I kind of like one of my big sort of sticking points is that I just don't understand the education system. So it's that kind of like put someone through school Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. till 3. And get them used to that until the point that then they come out and they're like, okay, what do? I go to university so then I can get a job, and a really good job. And they come out of that and they're like, oh, right, Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, I'll stick an extra couple of hours on. And it's that thing that animals don't give a crap what day of the week it is. I've never understood that. And I think it's, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but do you know what I mean? It's like, it's interesting to me where people sort of get to, and then get a realization and go, hold on a sec. I've been doing this for a long time, and I don't want to do that anymore. How do I get out of this? So,
but so many people don't have that realization. Some people, or they have the realization and they just don't act on it. They just sit and they go to work every day, hating life, hating their job, and it's why? Like, why do it? Like,
I was
why?
just going to say to you, what do you think that is? I mean, it's insane, right?
Fear of failure, I think. So me and AD, actually AD's here, so I'll just drop him in. AD, this is Lee, how you doing?
Hey. AD.
AD,
hey,
mate,
how are you?
I'm good, thank you, I'm good. Just got my little boy down to sleep.
Fair play. Mate, that is some strong facial furniture. You look good, sir. Love that. Nice to meet you, mate.
And you.
AD, you'll catch up. You'll catch up what we're talking about. But Lee, I think it's just fear of failure. Me and AD talk about this a lot, and that people are just so scared to the fear of the unknown, the fear of doing something different. I mean, I've talked about it a lot. So I mentioned previously that I set the business up in February. Now, before that, I've been in the same industry for 10 years, did quite well at my job, but I always knew that I wanted to work for myself. I had to. You have to, for me, you have to work for yourself. But then, you have people in your head saying, well, it's not always greener. You've got the security of a career. You do know that every business, or most businesses fail in their first 12 months. So you have all that negativity being played into you from people outside of your own head, that a lot of the time people just hear that and go, I can't do it.
No, absolutely. And I mean, the thing is as well, it's one of those, isn't it? Because it's, I always got told that it was super risky to do anything like that, like start your own business or anything like that. And then I watched these people where I was like, they seem pretty not that risky. Do you know what I mean? But the thing is, surely it's a much bigger risk to do something that you hate for your whole life, to then potentially retire when you get to 60 and now probably 7. My dad's like 73 now and he's trying to retire and it's so hard for him. And, you know, and you get that thing and it's like now his body's a bit broken. He's not going to enjoy that retirement. That's not, you know. So I just think that's much more of a bigger risk just to be like, okay, I'll do this thing that I hate for a long amount of time and then I'll like be dead. So...
Well, here's the risk, right? So this happened to me. So I was cruising in a job where I was earning really good money, cruising, flying, loving job. Got a new boss, hated him, hated me. And almost in an instant, your job's gone, your income's gone. So where's the risk? The risk is staying in a job, doing a job you hate, with the risk that somebody could come in that you don't get on with for no reason other than you just don't get on. Right, because you go through life not getting on with people. That's just life, right? Or you do your own thing. Potentially it works, potentially it doesn't. But what's the difference with having a boss you don't like or don't hate?
Oh, bro, like I've had this exact same conversation so many times where it's like, you're totally right. You're so right. And like, it's that thing where, you know, all of my friends that are like super risk averse and they're just like you shouldn't be doing this. It's a bad idea. Like they've done the same things, right? Or it's like, you should do a podcast, man. That'll be hard. And so where's your podcast, right? Yeah. So, but it's that thing where I've had it a bunch of times where, you know, they'll say that it's super risky to do this kind of stuff. And then look what's just happened over the last year. People that had a secure job that was completely secure and they're okay, and now either furloughed on 20% less than they would have been getting paid, or they've lost their job, or the company's gone under, or it's really it's intense. That is an intense place to be in. And if you can't be nimble and you can't kind of just be like, okay, cool, now I need to recalibrate. I need to do this now instead. Like this was working for me. You can't rest on your laurels. That's like that's just game over straight away. That's what I think anyway.
With that as well, people tend to get too comfy. You get stuck, in the monotonous rut everyone says about it. But like you've just said with the furlough scheme, when people are off, so look at the pilots that are off in the aviation industry. Some of them have gone back, but some of them haven't gone back. They've said, actually, I don't need that stress. And they've sort of reevaluated their life. And a lot of people have set up their own businesses, own companies or consultancy, and they're taking that risk. And like I jumped on just the back end of your conversation, it's if you don't take the risk, you don't know. You don't know what benefits you will get to reap. But if you sit in the job and say, I'm not doing it, it's too risky for me, you've got to live a bit because you can't take it with you. And don't look back on it going, I wish I left my job 20 years ago.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's that thing as well, isn't there? Like, really well put, by the way. There's that thing where it's sort of like, I just find it insane. Those things. Those like if I was sort of to say to you like think of a day that made you like literally like gush happiness, just like super. That was the best day of my life. It would be something to do with something that wasn't your normal day to day, right? So why don't people want more of that? I don't understand why you wouldn't try and put yourselves in those situations as often as possible, and just be like, okay, cool. This feels awkward and weird. I have this thing about fear. So like, I feel that there's like two types of fear. There's more, I think, but like my main two types of fear. There's like the fear that makes you crap your pants. Like I don't know, you walk into a house and there's a frigging like a jaguar and an alligator in your front room. That
Where do you live?
Fear, you know what I mean? That kind of come to Brighton. That kind of fear that makes you bail. Like that's just normal fear. But then you have the fear that's just that it's like the precursor to something awesome happening. The fear where you get the butterflies in your tummy and it feels a bit awkward. But like every time I get that kind of fear, I try and sometimes it's hard, man. But like I try and see it as a green light and just be like, that's that. I need to jump off that cliff now. I'm not going to get hurt. The most I'm going to get is I'm going to learn a lesson. I'm going to fail and then I'm going to learn another lesson. But that's the most.
Oh. Lost.
Like a couple.
Definitely frozen in the wrong place there.
Yeah. I think we've lost you, Lee.
Weird stuff and try and keep outside.
I think we've lost you.
There he goes back, I think.
Oh,
you back?
Oh, are you still there? It's gone back.
Yeah, we're still here.
Oh, sorry, buddy. Yeah, no, it just went all freezy at this end.
Yeah,
I've got full signal, so I'm not sure what's up. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it freezing for you, AD, or is it just me?
No, it's cutting in and out.
Yeah.
I think it's back now.
Yeah, I've got full signal at this end, so I don't know. Yeah, ghost in the machine maybe. But yeah, no, I don't know what you boys think about that kind of,
Oh.
That's
yeah,
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, Lee, the last sort of 30 seconds of what you said we didn't get.
Awesome. That might have been a good thing. Who knows? That might have been a definite good thing. Are we all back in the room? I can't tell.
I think we're good again.
Yeah.
Lee, just wanted to...
I guess stuff happens for a reason.
Yeah. Lee, just wanted to explore something with you, actually, because obviously you mentioned...
Really bad. The signal is bad.
Oh.
There you go. I think it's good.
We're good?
Right, cool. I think we're good. Yeah, that's all caught up. Yeah, hey-o.
Look, Lee, just wanted to explore something with you, because I know you've mentioned about the drug addiction. You mind talking about that? Are you all right with that?
I mean, honestly, you can ask me whatever you want.
So I'm curious just to talk about that, because we have quite a lot of guys that come on here and they've been through similar things, or still going through it and trying to learn and trying to find ways of coping and dealing with it. So, when did that start, and when did you realise something had to be done?
Yeah, for sure, man. Cheers for asking. So I suppose a precursor to that is the fact that the particular drug that I got addicted to, I absolutely hate. I've always hated. I disagree with the trade. I think it's probably the dumbest drug that you can do potentially. As far as I don't like what it does to you. I don't like how it makes you feel. I don't like any of it. I genuinely had an addiction. I mean, I smoked a bit of pot when I was a kid. Every now and again I'll partake. I still have a few beers every now and again, stuff like that. I think everything in moderation. But that particular thing, in the same way, it's funny, we were talking about this the other day with someone, and it's kind of in the same way that like some people just get addicted to watching Coronation Street every single night of their life, and that's what they do. And that's detrimental in some ways. For me, this was detrimental in a way. I had a mini stroke. I nearly had a couple of heart attacks. I definitely nearly died a few times. It's horrible. But to long-windedly answer your question, I just wanted to precursor that because I really hate the trade. It's a terrible trade. Drug dealers out there that are passing that stuff out, just please stop. It's terrible. But yeah, so it was cocaine, and I had one of those years, mate. I had a year where just stuff sucked. It was a bit sucky. Things weren't necessarily going right. And then a friend of a friend, he wasn't even a best friend, but he was best friends with a lot of my best friends, went off one day, never came back, found him hanging in a tree. Not me personally, but it was all very sort of like close to home. And I was young enough that it sort of, really hurt. It was one of those. And at the same time, it sounds really like menial, but when those things stack up and they compound and you have like, a tiny little thing can break the straw that broke the camel's back. And so I kind of like that happened. And then me and my girlfriend at the time were like well on the rocks. And then the head gasket went in my car. I was at a band practice and I came out and I'd forced myself to go to the band practice after everything that had happened. And I just felt a bit crappy. And I came out and got in the car and just turned it on and it just went, and I was just like, no, when it's just like the whole world crumbles down. And I went to a party that night and I had the whole sort of like, F it, whatever, I'll do, I just want to allow some steam. And I went to this party and I am literally that guy that you never meet that had one and then a few days later was just on like a 200 quid a day addiction, and I definitely didn't have the money to pay for it. And the financially, it was crippling. Definitely nearly bankrupted myself as well. But the financial part of it was the least worst part. It is a terrible. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not comparing. I was never homeless. I never sort of like. I'm definitely not comparing myself to people that have really, really, really struggled. I wasn't sex trafficked or anything like that. But for about 2 years, I was completely, it was a demon and I was stuck. The funniest thing was, I say it was funny, it wasn't funny at all, it just was really terrible. But one of the funniest things was, I never really lied to anyone about it. I got on with my stuff, I still did my job. I was teaching at the college at the time. And I was getting kids good grades. Most of my students got firsts on their courses and then degree courses and stuff like that. but I was just screwing myself over. I was lying to myself constantly, mate. Like, just complete rubbish, and trying to convince myself X when Y was happening, and it was just terrible. I would never wish it upon anyone. I couldn't stop it. Like I said, you probably won't be able to see, but this side of my face is just slightly further down. I'm pretty good looking, but so it gets rid of it. But no, I had like a little minor stroke, and my eyebrows dropped. I've lost all the cartilage in the top of my nose, and I hate the stuff. It's really bad. But the weird thing is that it's that classic kind of really obvious cliche thing to say, but I wouldn't change it. I genuinely, I think it did something where it made me pull my finger out and be like, right, I need to sort something out here. And now most of the work I do is kind of either charity work, or it's trying to help people out that are either going through that or going through whatever form of mental health. It got me into reading massively. It got me into listening to podcasts massively. It got me into writing myself. It got me into I run like a non-for-profit charity group for young entrepreneurs and sort of students and sort of young adolescents that struggle with school and struggle with home life and addictions, and it might just be smoking, it might be that they've got no self-esteem, it might be that they've got no confidence, but I do a lot of work with that kind of stuff, and I really think I think it gave me my purpose. I know that sounds weird, but I definitely think that was the case. How about you boys? Have you had a sort of similar demon?
I've never. So I'm one of these. I've never tried a cigarette. I've never touched anything like that.
AD, we were so cool for a while, man. That's why the beard is so strong. Look at this. All my hair fell out a couple of years ago.
No, it's just, yeah. I think with your thing, it's like you often hear people say they have to hit rock bottom before they can actually get over something. There's a lot of people that have an addiction or they go through stuff, they then come out of it, they're doing well, then they slip back into it. They come out of it, and I think it's genuinely because they haven't been at the worst point, so they don't know the effects they're having on that taking something. They don't fully understand the full effects he's having until they are, in the gutter at the bottom. But people can't do it.
Sorry, Eddie.
Well, mate.
No, I was just going to say I've got a friend going through it right now. Lee, he's cocaine addiction.
Mate, honestly, I'm not being that guy. If he wants to touch base, I will happily have a chat. Even if it's just a bit of I get it kind of thing. Feel free to pass in my details. Not a problem.
No, probably will, because he's sort of going through it at the minute, and we've had the interventions, we've had the conversations many times, and it always been started off as you probably see it yourself because you've been through it, but you started off with the casual out, have a line, that's it. Then it turns into more than having a bag on your own, and then it turned into a Monday night on your own at home having coke
in the morning, and
yeah. So thankfully, so he sort of rock bottom sort of came very recently for him, or we hope, and he's hopefully he's started to see a counsellor now, and hopefully he wants to get his life sorted out and get back on track. But it's horrible to see it. It's because the person who it is, massively successful, always been very good at their job, and you see the difference in their career from sort of 10 years ago to where they are now, and then not only professionally, just the way they physically look. It has a massive toll, a massive effect on life. So
you can have the interventions, you can have the conversations, and it's only if that person's willing to take it on. They can say to your face, yeah, no, I'm good, I'm sorted, I'm fine. Leave them on their own for 20 seconds and they're back in the toilet doing it. Or
do you know what
milk?
Do you know what my biggest problem with it was, Lee? And again, I don't know if anyone tried to help you or how you sort of came about the intervention, but my issue with it is that partners, parents, kids, best friends can all see that there's a problem. I can't ring, or they can't ring and refer anybody. It has to be self-referral. And the biggest problem with addicts is that they don't know they're addicted most of the time. So if you don't know you've got a problem, how are you going to self-refer? And I think that's, for me, that's one of the mentalist things that there is.
Well, do you know what, Marco? Like the interesting thing there is, and I can't speak for everyone. Like I said to you earlier, I think there are definitely different rules for different people, and different things work for different people. The problem is, for me personally, it wasn't that I knew I had a problem, but I was lying to myself, just like that. I was just stitching myself up left, right, and centre, like, and that, you know, deep down, you could, if someone asked you and said, "Look, have you got a problem?" I'd have been like, "Yeah, I have," in my head, and just like, "No, mate, no, I'm fine." Like, you know, and it's such, mate, you are both of you are so right. You as soon as you try and you can't get in someone's way with something like that, because they need to sort it out. And it's the same as anything else. It's like you're really, really unconfident and you want to ask someone out on a date. No one else can, you can't pick that person up and go and put them down next to someone and then open their mouth and be like, right, start saying this stuff. They have to do it themselves. And, you know, if you exacerbate that kind of ideal, then you get to the point where you're, you know, you want to do a parachute jump, go and do a parachute jump. You want to learn to swim. You want to get off the drugs. You need to, like, you have to have that want and that kind of drive to be able to do it. And the thing is as well, it's like, a lot of people talk about you know, you are what you eat and you are who you hang around with, which I totally agree with. I really do. I think I think with the best will in the world, you know, if you live in a crack den, there's going to be a point. It might take a day, a month, a year, but there will be a point when you're like, okay, I could, you know, I've been here long enough. I'm surrounded by people.
We're naturally influenced, aren't we? Even as children and as adults, because as adults you think, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. Like you say, long enough, try it. Just do this. Just go and do that. You are influenced unless you have the strongest of wills. Yeah. And if you're chasing something, if you're chasing that dream, or you know, you've got something in your head, then fair play. But that's what you need. You need that thing in your head.
I love that. I love the saying, show me your 5 closest friends, I'll show you your future. I love that, because it's so true, right? Yeah. And it's like, you know, I've been doing a lot of stuff around positive mental attitude and motivational speaking, and watching loads of stuff on that recently. And there was one that said that you'll on average you'll earn within £5,000 of all your closest friends. So if you want to be a millionaire, hang around with millionaires.
Oh, mate, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just like, you're like you said, Ada, you're heavily influenced by.
It's you follow, isn't it? If you're hanging around with, like you said, if you're hanging around with 6 drug dealers, yeah, great, you're going to be loaded by the end of it because you're going to work for them. But that's not life, is it? Then passing that on. And if you hang around with successful people, or let's take success out of it. If you hang around with happy, content people, you will be happy and content.
Yeah.
You know,
it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to not feel a certain way if everything else is going like. I always think this about the media. It's one of my biggest problems with anything like mainstream media. Is I just feel that if that whole thing, if everything on the news was just like, kid, you got this, you can do this, that thing you're thinking of, yeah, let's go. I got your back. This guy's got your back. That girl's got your back. We're cool. Like, let's just move on this. Like, that thing that you're worried about, don't worry about it anymore. We got this. If you were surrounded by stuff like that, how good would the world be? Do you know what I mean? That'd just be lush, wouldn't it? That'd just be so good. Yeah,
you see it in work, though, don't you? We all know the mood hoovers that you have in your office. You know,
mood hoover, I love that.
Yeah, you do, and they come in and you can tell they're in a bad mood, and they're just going to bring everybody else around them down, and it's just you just got to you have to rip the plaster off and get them out.
Yeah, and
sometimes it's you that has to just go, I'm done with this.
Well, people find that hard as well, you know. Like this is something that I do a lot of this, like with my mailing list and stuff like that. And it's one of the questions that always gets asked and always gets dealt with. Is like most of the people that care about you most, and they want what's best for you, and they love you to bits, and they're not against you. They're not haters. They're not trolls. They're not bad people. They really care about you. But they're often the biggest cynics in your life, and they're often the people that they've been taught by the cynics in their life. And they try and relay that kind of stuff on you. And it's very hard to break away from this. It's very hard to turn around and go, best friend, you suck for me. You're not very good for my mental health. Mum and dad, you're terrible for my mental health, or, you know, sister or brother or whatever it is. And that's a hard thing to walk away from. But I think sometimes you definitely do, you know, like you say, but both of you are completely bang honest. Like if, you know, surround yourselves with millionaires, you're so much more likely to be a millionaire. At least you're going to learn something, right? Same with health, same with fitness, same with nutrition, same with like everything.
Yeah, you've got to have that. We said earlier, the influence, but you've also got to have that knowledge. So you've got to be around those people that are knowledgeable in the fitness or nutrition to then really understand fitness and nutrition. Yeah. Otherwise, you can't go to Dr. Google because it will tell you all sorts of crap. But you've got to educate, and there's a certain element that means you have to do something. You can't just go and say, right, that group of millionaires, I'm going to be their friend. Like, how are you going to be their friend? What are you going to do for them? Because you have to add value to somebody.
Yeah.
And add value to a group. You can't just go, yeah, I'm here to learn and take all your money. Cheers. It doesn't work like that.
I couldn't agree more, man. Because this is the other thing as well. There's a lot of stuff that builds you up to be selfish, and I think a lot of the time people don't understand they're being selfish. I actually, it sounds really, really lame, but I have a reminder that goes off on my phone every single day, and it says "Stop being selfish." And like it is really soppy, but I look at it and I'm like, hold on a sec, what have I done today so far that I was probably not very, not selfless? It wasn't the right thing. And as soon as you start, like you say, as soon as you start adding value, as soon as you start doing things where you're like, I'm just going to do this because it's the right thing to do. I'm just trying to be a good person, you know, and like those little sort of baby steps to be a little bit better every day. But everything's up against you, so it's very easy to be like, right, that's mine. I want that. I need that. I'm annoyed. You know, you're flicking through social media and you're like, oh my God, they got a promotion. I want a promotion. It's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, you know, they worked for that promotion.
Jealousy, isn't it? It's
be happy for them, you know. Yeah.
That green-eyed monster. It's the jealousy.
Yeah.
That's something we talk about a lot on this podcast, is the way that social media influences lives in it's not a positive way. It's a negative way, and the way that everyone looks at the way that everybody looks at what everybody else has and thinks, oh, I want that. But the reality is most of that isn't real.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, they're just showing you what they want to see. You know, someone's wearing a nice blingy watch. You don't know that they've maxed out on the credit cards up to their eyeballs paying for it. You know, like you see it on a Friday night after payday. If you're going out, you go to all the nicest bars. You've got all the payday millionaires that are out splashing their cash, champagne bottles, and then they can't eat for the rest of the week. You know, I used to be one of those guys, so I see it. Like I used to be that guy when I was, you know, in my early 20s, earning good money and just boom, and then I'm you know, walking around like Oliver Twist for the next 3 weeks, trying to find some food.
That's what they say, didn't they? They've said that he's payday millionaire. It's like you live that weekend like Iron Man. Like John Stark that weekend, then by the end of it, you are Oliver Twist. You're asking people, asking for handouts because it's having that self-control. But I mean, we've all done it at that age, and some people unfortunately never grow out of it and never grow out of that mentality because they haven't surrounded themselves properly.
Do you know what though? Like that for me, this is going completely way off topic, really. But like that for me, that's the education system in schools, because you don't learn in school how to live. How to budget, how to manage money. You see it. You see these young kids that get money young. So the industry I'm in, recruitment. You know, I know one kid who's 21. Last year earned 220 grand. Like, who's teaching him how to not blow his money? Like, he put an LDR8, 70 grand. It's like, mate,
no.
What are you doing?
30 grand to fill it up and start it up.
Yeah, but who's teaching them? Nobody teaches you how to live and go through life. You know, Pythagoras' theorem. Have you ever used that?
Mate, so we were laughing about this the other day, right? The true story, absolutely true story. My business teacher at school had never run a business, and my PE teacher in high school was fat. What the hell is going? Like, I'm not even joking though. Like it sounds funny on the page, but that's where you put your kids. Your kids go there, and you don't see them for the whole day. And that's what they're doing, and that's who they're surrounded with, right? So it's just like, what the hell is going on? And you know, people. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think it covers there's a lot of things wrong with the world nowadays, which can be taught at a young age. It's simple, from racism, from business, from running, from health, from the importance of health. All of this stuff can be taught when you're learning how to build a birdhouse or bake a cake. Yeah, cool,
Plate
brilliant.
tectonics.
Yeah, there's a little life skill. But what about the rest of it? How do I earn the money to bake a cake? What if I want to turn that cake into a business? What do I do there? There's nothing.
Similar to what you said, Lee. I watched a speech of a guy recently who went to Harvard Business School. He was told by the tutor, professor, whatever they call it over there, that he would never be successful in business. Now that lecturer had never run a business, right? But he's teaching business at Harvard, having never run a business. The guy then went on to run $100 million business. Right?
I love that.
Crazy.
I love that so much.
That's the motivation, isn't it? Sometimes that's what you need.
100%. I had one of my old mentors said to me, where he really made me laugh with this, and he said, your kid, he said, do you want him to get A grades, B grades, C grades, D grades, E grades, or fail? And I said, honestly, I don't really care as long as he's happy. And he said, that's kind of the right answer. He said, the right answer is whatever one he puts the most effort in for. He said, it doesn't matter if he fails as long as he puts the effort in. Yeah. And I was like, that's insanely, bang on point. Anyway, he turned around and then he said, yeah, the thing is as well, all those A grade students that turn up on time, they do their Monday to Friday, they all work for me now. That's it. He said, I was that kid that was selling Hustler out in the, but it's like, and I'm not saying that again, that's not right for everyone, and that's definitely not it. But it's very conditioning school, isn't it? It's very conditioning.
100%.
Conform, work. I mentioned this to you the other day, AD, that poor people work, millionaires, rich people think.
Very, like that.
And it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, I mean. Oh, sorry, go on, mate.
No, go on.
No, it's just, I think that my sort of last point on that, I guess, is like, I really could, obviously, like I said earlier, I was teaching for quite a while, and I did parry teaching in like primary schools, so where you teach like one-on-one kind of thing, and they come out, and I was just doing drum lessons, and then that turned into like teaching high school, and then I did a bit of college stuff, and then did that for quite a while. Really enjoyed it, and was doing a lot of lecturing, and then sort of university and sort of master's degree and stuff like that. And then nowadays I do like a bunch of keynote speeches and bits and pieces. Sorry, a little burpee, little cheeky hiccup. But the thing is, it's like the one thing that rings true with all of it. And I just see this everywhere, just constantly, and I wish they taught it at school, is that thing where you have it in primary school where they say, what do you want to be when you're older? And literally you answer honestly there's no sort of disability there. There's no like, I can't, there's no, the sky's literally the limit. And you answer with something like, I want to be a Power Ranger, or I want to be a frigging Velociraptor, or I want to be a wizard, or whatever the hell it is. I want to be a ballet dancer, whatever it is. And then that's cool for a while. And you're like, I believe that I can literally do this. And then you get to the next school and they're like, nah, man, no, that's not going to work. Like, but plate tectonics, Pythagoras' theorem, check that out. Do this stuff that you don't understand, that doesn't work for you. We'll test you for it, even if you don't do that well in tests. We don't care how much effort you've put in across the terms or each semester. We're just going to test you. If you get the test wrong, then you suck. And you're going to feel bad about it. And then you're going to go home and you're going to feel rubbish. You're going to get anxious. Then you're going to probably end up smoking pot and getting a cocaine addiction. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I just wish that there was that thing where it was, or it was universal, because it does happen, obviously. But I wish there was that thing where people were just like, what do you want to do? How can I help you? What can I do for you?
How? Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah, because you do it as an adult. Like, you go, I want to be a pilot, right? How do I become a pilot? Right, you need to have this, you need to get that, you need to do this. There is none of that as a kid. Like you say, it's just like we'll do these exams, we'll test you, and then you go to university. I mean, how many people go to university, get a degree, and never use it?
And it's cost you so much money. How many people are paying like thousands of pounds for a thing when they didn't get the job that they were expecting to get? It's insanity.
Yeah.
One of my friends, he was at uni and he dropped out. He was over here in uni, and he dropped out and he moved to Edinburgh, and he was there for a couple of years, then went back to uni. I said to him, I thought you hated uni. He said, yeah, but it doesn't cost here.
Scotland.
I was like, hey, you're going far in life. Like, that's well played, sir.
Yeah.
No, 100%, man.
Lee, you mentioned, so look, I would be remiss to ask about this, being the Nobody Cares About Dad podcast. You mentioned that your partner had a child, so you're a stepdad now?
Indeed. Stepdad, yeah, he's my boy, dude. He's 13 now. Literally, you know those things when you're like, I'm not being biased at all. He's a little legend. She sorted him right out. I met him when he was 6. And his mum had already whipped him into shape. And I've got so much kudos for this kid, right? So basically, his dad and their family live in Norfolk. We're down in Brighton. So every other week, he gets in the car with me. I drive him halfway there. His dad picks him up halfway. He spends the weekend there. And then on the Sunday, he comes back the same way. That kid has clocked up more miles than a friggin' Black Sabbath tribute band. Like he has been on the road. Like seriously. He always smiles through it. He's always positive. I honestly, man, I've never had to raise my voice at him. His mum really sorted him out, and he's just he's an absolute peach. He's a good kid. But he's at 13 now. I think I caught him masturbating for the first time the other day. He had his arm stuck down I'm not even joking. I have to be quiet because he's upstairs. But I always knock. Well, this is it. His mum never knocks. And I'm always like, you need to knock. Like, from 12 upwards, just knock regardless. Whether you think it or not, just knock. And so I knocked the other day, but it was, the kind of like, yeah. And I didn't think quick enough. And I opened the door and was like, oh, no. Okay, right. We're fine. So he's at that age, but he's decent. He's an absolute legend. How about you guys?
So I've got a little boy. He's 4.
Nice.
He's a little beast, to be fair. He's a good lad. He's a happy little boy.
What's his name?
Dexter.
Dexter, solid name. Good work, sir.
And then, so when I met my ex, she had a 6-week-old baby. And we split 17, 18 months ago. So will be 6 in August. So I pretty much brought her up. Still see her most of the time on school runs or pickups and stuff. But yeah, it's I get so much time with my boy. So much time.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, he's a good lad.
Yeah, and I've got a little boy who is 3. He was 3 in May, called Leonardo.
Oh, mate, you boys have got solid names for your kids. I didn't get to name mine. I would have gone like Special Response Unit or something like that.
But yeah, no, he's great. He's first time parents. Me and Tilly were sort of AD. We were parents around the same age, so yeah, it was
game changer.
Yeah, life certainly. It's a cliche, isn't it? And but you'll know yourself, Lee, moving into a family that's already established. It's changing. It's life changing. Your whole outlook and your responsibilities just changed instantly.
You know what I don't get? Mate, you're bang on the money. The bit I don't get is when you hear of like bad parents and like where they don't put in the time, they don't do the school run, they don't do or whatever it is. They're like they don't. I don't understand that. I don't understand how you could have a child. And absolutely not and have anything other than complete love and I've got your back, mate. Like I'm gonna whatever it takes, I'm gonna do that. Sometimes it's gonna really hurt me and I'm not gonna be up for it, but I'm gonna pull myself out. I'm gonna do it anyway. I don't get that. I find that I really because you were saying earlier as well, and not to bring it up in that way, but like you were saying you didn't have a father figure as a kid, man. That's like fair play to your mum and fair play to you as well. Like that's hard, mate. Like surely, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. She had 4. There was 4 of us, so so there's me with my dad, and then she had a partner where she had my 2 sisters and a brother through. But he left when they were, I don't know. My oldest was 5, maybe. So for most, my oldest sister's now 32. So for most of the life, there's never been anyone around. So it's
fair play to your mum, mate. Like one absolute saint.
Yeah, I mean, raising 1 is challenging. Actually, raising 4.
Yeah. No, it's mad, isn't it? We always joke and say like, like with mommy's boys and things. Because my mum was the same. I've got 2 sisters. My stepdad came on the scene. I think I was about 9. I think I was about 9 or 10. I think around about then. But I absolutely adore him, and it's probably the same relationship you've got, Lee, with your stepson. You know,
I hope so.
He sort of took over after I sort of stopped thinking I was still the man in the house at such a young age, but I had to be. You know, absolutely, he's my absolute idol. But I've said to him before, if I could parent half as good as he did for me, then I've won, because he did everything, and to take on somebody else's children, not just one but 3, and just treat us all the same with love, respect.
Mate, that is honestly, you're making me go funny. That's fair play, boys. Like, I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, it's good.
And that's the thing.
The most rewarding thing.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and you do, like, the thing is, because I was reading a book the other day. I literally can't remember which one, but there was a sentence in it that proper got me. And it was I won't get it completely right, but the idea was that, you know, you've got a million friends. Friends can do whatever they want, but you get one parent, maybe 2 if you're lucky, maybe 3 if you've got step parents, or 4. But that you only get those ones. And like, it's that thing where they're like, you know, that stuff where they're like, brush your teeth. And you know that you don't want to tell them to brush their teeth, because you know that they're like, I don't want to brush my teeth, dude. Like, stop telling me to brush my teeth. And you do it because you know that 20 years down the line, they're like, mate, thank you so much for being a dick to me when I was a kid and making me brush my teeth, because they haven't all fallen out. You know, that kind of stuff. And I love that. Oh, man, bless you guys. That's awesome.
Lee, I'm actually really enjoying the chat, but I've got to cut it off. So we've got another podcast. We've got another podcast at 8. I'm not going to lie. But look, mate, I've really enjoyed this, mate. I'd actually love to get you on again at some point, just to have another chat, if you're happy to sort of come on and
definitely
have another chat.
Look, I tell you what I can do. I can do a little cheat. Well, if you're up for it, if I'm not inviting myself, I'm actually up in Manny in like 2 or 3 weeks' time. So if you're up for a quick coffee or a pint or something, I'll definitely catch up with you in person. But yeah, mate, I'd always be up for coming back on. Thank you so much for having me. I like you boys.
Yeah. No, appreciate it. And like we said, look, we're just enjoying meeting different people, telling different stories, having different conversations, getting other people's perspective on things. And send me. I'll put a link to the book in the podcast as well, so people can find it.
Yeah, that's definitely, man. I mean, to be fair, if you want, like, I can. If you've got any listeners that are happy reading digital copies, then I'll send them out for free. Just give me a link.
Amazing.
No worries at all. But yeah, mate, honestly, I really, really love what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank
you for your time, and sorry for being late.
Mate, never apologise. No, man, you were doing the father thing. You smashed it. You did the right thing.
I better go untie him now.
Mate, I hope that your next guest isn't quite as handsome as me, but enjoy.
No, do you know what? It's we're actually going live for this next one. It's on Facebook or YouTube. If you want to tune in, you can do. But it's actually about racism in football. This podcast, and obviously what's happened these last couple of days. But the guest that's coming on is actually a football manager in the lower leagues who was racially abused by fans and ended up in court. And it's really topical.
Yeah, very topical.
To talk about at the moment.
Oh, fair, man. Well, let me get off so that you've got time to sort that out. But thank you so much. And yeah, I'll keep in touch, mate. Give me a holler.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Lee.
Cheers, Marco. Appreciate it, boys.
Thank you.
Bye.